So Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is finally here, and being in Australia, we are lucky enough to get the game a little bit earlier than most other countries due to the time zones. So I've already sunk in around 9 or 10 hours into the game so far, and today I'm going to be going over 10 things I wish I knew earlier about Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Now, getting straight into it, the first thing on the list here is to do with a certain plant in the game, and that is called the Mist Bloom plant. You can see it here. It is a sort of light blue and purple plant, and this is going to be very, very helpful, especially early on in the game. What this plant does is it actually gives you a speed and agility boost when you inhale the mist from it, which all you need to do in order to actually gain that boost is essentially run past them, run over the top of them, or essentially just running in their general vicinity, and they will give you that bonus. I'm not too sure exactly on the actual bonus it gives, if it is twice as fast or not, but it definitely makes you feel like you are running twice as fast. And not only that, but generally when you find one of these, there are others sprinkled throughout that same area too, and you can kind of chain those together to keep this boost going, because it's obviously not permanent. It does run out after probably around 15 to 30 seconds. But like I said, if you see multiple of these, you can obviously chain them together and it will essentially restart that boost. So keep your eyes out for these, and once you've obviously found them a few times, you will know exactly what they look like. This is going to help a hell of a lot early on in the game, because obviously when you don't have your Ikran, there is going to be a lot of running in those opening, say, 2 to 3 hours of the game. Now, next on the list is actually one that is kind of in tandem with that first tip, and this is a way to run faster, and that is actually unequipping your weapon. Now, this is not mind-blowing by any means. There are a lot of shooters out there and just even single-player games that do this, where when you haven't got a weapon equipped, you will run faster. Now, it's not the case with every game, so it's obviously not going to be a guarantee, but I can confirm in this game, when you have no weapon equipped and you are just running with your hands instead of a weapon, you will run faster. So pair that with the first tip that I just mentioned. Put those weapons away when you're trying to traverse quickly across the map, and it will make you get from point A to point B a hell of a lot faster. Now, something else I wish I knew earlier is that the cosmetics in this game are just purely cosmetic. You still want to equip gear items, because they will actually go essentially over the top of each other, to where the cosmetics do not give you any stats whatsoever. It is still the regular gear that gives you the stats, and then you can just equip the cosmetic over the top of it, meaning it won't change the way that it looks, but you will still get the bonus. Now, this is something they've done in other Ubisoft games, most recently in Assassin's Creed Mirage, for example. And so what you want to be doing is making sure that you are still equipping the best gear item. Don't worry about what it looks like, because for example, in other games, sometimes you may choose the slightly worse armor just because it looks a lot better, for example. Do not do that in this game. Just choose the one that you think is the best, and then you can still put the cosmetics over the top of that, meaning you can still look exactly how you want to look and still get the best bonuses from the best gear and items. Now, before we go any further, if you guys are enjoying the video so far and it has helped you out already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There is going to be a hell of a lot more Avatar content on the way, so make sure you don't miss out. But with that being said, let's get back into the video. Now, very early on in the game, probably within the first, I would say 30 to 60 minutes, you will come across a place called the Resistance Base, and this is impossible to miss. It is part of the main story. Now, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but what I will say about that location is you definitely want to check around the Resistance Base, because there is a heap of goodies hidden around there that are not blatantly obvious to the player, and yet they actually give you some very important stuff that you will pretty much need when it comes to the combat. For example, you can actually find the stun grenades in a chest within this Resistance Base. Those are a pretty key staple of taking out the amp units. It's not necessarily a need, but it is something that is almost certainly going to come in handy. And like I said, they don't actually make it blatantly obvious. It is just in a chest that is hidden in that Resistance Base. So be sure to give it a look around. It isn't very hard to find once you actually start looking. And there are some other goodies in the Resistance Base as well. So be sure to not just go in there, accept your quest and move on. Definitely give it a good look over before you leave. Now, moving on, we have a tip that is going to help a lot when it comes to getting skill points, and that is that these Tarsu saplings around the map actually give you directly skill points. So this isn't just to do with leveling up or anything like that. There's actually no regular leveling in this game. To get the skill points, you will need to find these Tarsu saplings. The only other way to get skill points in this game is by finishing main missions, and I believe even certain side missions as well. So make sure to not avoid these. If you find these saplings around the place, go up and you will get some free skill points. They're generally found in these kind of hard to find locations. They're not hard to find in that they're genuinely hidden. They're more in those type of locations where you can see that there's going to be something up on that cliff, for example, but it's obviously going to be a little bit hard to get there. Generally, in those sorts of locations, that is where you're going to find these Tarsu saplings. So make sure to not neglect them. They are going to help you a hell of a lot when it comes to getting some extra skill points. Now, something else that is very, very handy, especially when it comes to harvesting and crafting, is that you can actually see the different biomes on the map. And this is going to help a lot once you actually learn which types of plants, for example, are in which different types of biomes. Now, down in the bottom left, when you are on the map, you can see that it already does say which biome you're in. So wherever your cursor is on the map, it will kind of just say what that biome is. But you can also see there, if you press up on the D-pad, that will then pretty much just change the layout of the map to where it's going to show you directly the biomes of each of these sections, and it will directly tell you what that type of biome is. And then, like I said, once you've been to those locations and figured out the types of plants that you can find, that is going to make it a lot easier later on. If you need more of that type of plant, for example, you'll know it's in that certain type of biome, and this is essentially just going to allow you to find that biome a lot easier, and it will save you a hell of a lot of time when you are trying to harvest. Now, the next one is very, very handy, and this is something that I definitely wish I knew earlier, because I spent a lot of time trying to find the right way to get to certain locations on the map, trying to get through different objectives when there was a bit of a cliff face in the way. Now, it turns out you can pretty much just spam jump up the side of a mountain, and generally speaking, except for the enormous mountains that are clearly not climbable, you can pretty much get anywhere just by doing this. So if you're trying to get to a cliff face, and there's obviously going to be a pathway to get there some other way, but you've got to maybe go around a different area of the map, and it's going to take you a lot longer. It is definitely worth just trying to spam jump up there, because it actually does work a lot. The mantling in this game is really good, and even if there's just the tiniest little ledge for you to land on that cliff, you can pretty much reset there and keep jumping, and you will continue to mantle up that mountain. So that can save you a lot of time. Obviously, it's not always going to work, but some places that may look impossible to climb are definitely not impossible once you just spam the jump button. Now, something else I wish I knew a hell of a lot earlier was to do with the amp units. These things are definitely pretty tough. I'm not going to lie, this game is a little bit harder than I actually thought it would be. Granted, I'm playing it on the hard difficulty, but still, it is actually a lot harder than I thought for an Avatar game. Now, at the forefront of that are the amp units. Generally, the regular enemies, the RDA soldiers, they're pretty damn easy. But with the amp units, that is not the case at all. And the easiest way that I've found to take the amp units out, at least when they're on their own anyway, is to actually hack the amp units using your little hacking gadget, or even using the stun grenades that I mentioned earlier to take them out a lot easier. If you actually get a certain skill in the skill tree as well, I believe it is in the warrior skill tree, this will then allow you to also pretty much do a melee takedown on the hacked or stunned amp units, and that is going to make it a hell of a lot easier, because they obviously cannot damage you while they're hacked or stunned. Now, moving on, as soon as you guys get to the home tree, which is obviously a part of the main story as well, and don't worry, no spoilers here, but once you get through this section of the map and you can finally cook your food, make sure to cook your food for those added bonuses. You pretty much never want to be eating the raw food, at least when you can help it anyway. Obviously, if you're in a pinch, then that is still a viable option, but generally speaking, if you can cook your food, you definitely want to do that, because it can take the energy consumption up from, for example, 25% all the way up to 100%, meaning instead of eating 4 different items to get 100% energy, you can just eat a single item, and that is going to save you a lot of time, but also a lot of resources. So make the most of the cooking mechanic in this game. There are also some really cool bonuses that you can pair together with that system, and keep your eyes peeled on the channel, because there is every chance I'll make a video going over some of the best items you can cook to make some really great recipes that are going to give you some awesome bonuses. Now, the last one for this video is a little bit more on the simple side of things, but it is something that I personally wish I did a lot sooner, and this is to really follow the main path early on in the game, at least until you get your Ikran. Now, early on in the game, it is very, very fun, but there is a lot of traversal, and it is a little bit of a slower start, we'll say. There's nothing crazy going on. It is really just trying to, I guess, acclimate you to the surroundings, to the new combat systems and all that kind of thing. And because of that, obviously the traversal is a large part of the game. You're going to be spending a lot of time running around, and getting your Ikran is going to save so much time when it comes to that traversal, which will then not only help with obviously still focusing on the main path, but also just when you do some exploration, trying to find new items, trying to harvest plants, for example, that is still going to save you a hell of a lot of time. So what I will say is, for the first, I would say 3 or so hours, I would just honestly mainline the main story. Don't worry too much about the exploration. That is not going anywhere. It's not like you're going to miss anything if you don't do it in the first few hours. But then once you do get your Ikran, that is going to make it a hell of a lot easier. And also, to be honest, a hell of a lot more enjoyable too. But anyway, guys, those are 10 things I wish I knew earlier about Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Hopefully that helped some of you guys out. If it did, like I said, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There is plenty more Avatar content on the way, so make sure you don't miss out on that. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.